The Requisitions module in the Purchase functional area is used to create, delete, or edit requisitions for parts and assets. Once a requisition is created, it can be issued a purchase order number, thus making it a purchase order. Note, purchase orders can be created directly in the Purchase Order module. Where you create them depends on your company's purchase order process and your rights to Proteus MMX. The Record Navigator displays a listing of current requisitions. The fields listed in the Record Navigator are requisition number, requisition date, promise date, vendor code, vendor name, cost center, account number, requester, buyer, and grand total. Vendor and buyer are required fields in order to create a record. All other fields are optional with a default configuration. The Parts tab consists of the parts that are being ordered and added to the requisition. These fields are part number, part name, stock room, vendor part number, account, GL number, unit cost, quantity ordered, measurement units, total quantity received, last received date, tax date, and total cost. The Assets tab consists of the assets that are being ordered and attached to the requisition. These fields are asset number, asset name, asset tag, manufacturer, model, serial number, description, category, rating, capacity, weight, warranty date, initial cost, estimated delivery date, installation cost, tax rate, and total cost. Assets are created after they are received. The Cost tab consists of cost information associated with the requisition. These fields are parts, total, payment terms, assets total, subtotal, freight, other total, and grand total. The Shipping tab consists of the shipping information related to the requisition. These fields are ship to, address 1, address 2, city, state, zip code, country, contact phone, contact email, FOB, and shipping method. The Billing tab consists of the billing information related to the requisition. These fields are bill to, address 1 and 2, city, state, zip code, and country. To create a new purchase order requisition, 1. From the Record Navigator screen, select the new icon. On the Details tab, choose a vendor. You can also enter more information such as the buyer, requester, promise date, cost center, etc. 3. Select the Save icon when you've concluded with the Details tab. 4. On the Parts tab, add any stockroom parts to the requisition by selecting the green plus sign. In the Part window, select the box with 3 dots next to the Vendor Stockroom Part field to access the list of parts associated with the vendor on the requisition. Select a part and select the OK icon. Then enter the quantity ordered and select the Save icon. You can also change the default unit cost, enter a tax rate, or add an account or GL number. You can also add non-stockroom parts that aren't in your MMX database. When you receive these parts, they won't be added to the parts or stockroom modules of Proteus MMX. 5. If you're buying a new asset, on the Asset tab, select the green plus sign to enter the asset number, asset name, facility, and any additional information you need. Select the Save icon when complete. Enter any additional information on the Cost, Shipping, and Billing tabs. Save the requisition when complete. At this point, the requisition might need to be approved by a supervisor or purchasing manager. Once it's authorized, someone with sufficient MMX rights can assign a purchase order number to the requisition. From a requisition, a user can create a purchase order. To assign a purchase order number, 1. Select a requisition from the Record Navigator. 2. Select the Assign Purchase Order Number icon from the icon list. 3. Enter a unique PO number or select a blanket PO from the drop-down. 4. Select the Save icon. The requisition will then leave the requisition module and move to the Purchase Order module. The Purchase Orders page in the Purchasing functional area is used to create a new purchase order to receive parts or assets against a purchase order. Once a requisition has been assigned a purchase order number, it becomes a purchase order. Purchase orders can be closed, amended, or canceled from the purchase order page. The Record Navigator displays a listing of current purchase orders. The fields listed in the Record Navigator are purchase order number, requisition number, purchase order status, purchase order date, requisition date, promise date, vendor code, vendor name, cost center, account number, requester, buyer, grand total, and grand total currency. The steps for creating a purchase order are basically the same as creating a requisition, except that you're able to add a purchase order number as soon as you create the purchase order. To create a new purchase order, 1. From the Record Navigator screen, select the new icon. 2. On the Details tab, enter a unique purchase order number. Choose a vendor and enter the requisition date. You can also enter more information such as buyer, requester, promise date, cost center, etc. 3. Select the Save icon when you've concluded with the Details tab. 4. On the Parts tab, add any stockroom parts to the purchase order by selecting the green plus sign. In the Part window, select the box with 3 dots next to the Vendor Stockroom Part field to access the list of parts associated with the vendor on the purchase order. Select a part, select OK icon, then enter the quantity ordered and select the Save icon. You can also change the default unit cost, enter a tax rate, work order number, and add an account number or GL number. Note, you can also add non-stockroom parts that aren't in your MMX database. When you receive these parts, they won't be added to the stockrooms or parts modules of Proteus MMX. 5. If you're buying a new asset, on the Assets tab, select the green plus sign to enter the asset number, asset name, facility, and any additional information you need. Select the Save icon when complete. Enter any additional information on the cost, shipping, and billing tabs. Save the purchase order when complete. If you need to make any changes to a purchase order, you can use the Amend Purchase Order function. Note, you will need sufficient rights to perform this function. To amend a purchase order, 1. Select the purchase order you want to amend from the Record Navigator. 2. Select the Amend Purchase Order icon from the icon list. 3. Make any changes needed to the purchase order and select the Save icon when complete. The Receiving Update Tracking Information tab in the Purchasing Order functional area is used to receive all parts and assets on purchase orders. When purchase orders are received, the quantities and part or asset data will be updated in a specific area. To receive parts on a purchase order, 1. Open the Purchase Orders module. 2. Select a purchase order from the drop-down list. 3. Select a part to receive. 4. Select the Receive icon. 5. Enter comments in the vendor's notes fields. These will save to the vendor and become a part of additional details for that vendor. 6. Enter quantity into the Return to vendor. If any parts need to be returned, reason for return in the Vendor's Return Log tab has been added to view all returned parts. 7. Enter the amount of the quantity received field. Then enter the received date and receiver. Note, You can also enter the shipment's invoice number and packaging slip number. 8. Select the Save icon. 9. When all the parts on the purchase order are received, you can close the purchase order by selecting the Close Purchase Order icon. To receive assets on a purchase order, 1. Open the Purchase Orders module. 2. Select a purchase order from the drop-down list. 3. Select the assets to receive. 4. Select the Receive icon. 5. Enter the receiver and receive date. Note, you can also enter the shipment's invoice number and packaging slip number. 6. Select Save. Once you have received all the parts and assets on a purchase order, you can close the purchase order. Note, if you haven't received all the parts and assets, but still wish to close the purchase order, you will need to amend the purchase order so that the quantity ordered and the quantity received match for each part. To close a purchase order, 1. Select the purchase order from the Record Navigator. 2. Select the Close Purchase Order icon. 3. When asked, "Are you sure you want to close the selected purchase order?" select Yes. To cancel a purchase order, 1. Select the purchase order from the Record Navigator. 2. Select the Cancel Purchase Order icon. 3. When asked, "Are you sure you want to cancel the selected purchase order?" select Yes.